Hello, everybody. Happy Thursday. All right, I'm going to pull you guys up on my computer. Grab a little sip of water here quickly. I'm thirsty. All right. And okay, here we go. Sometimes the computer is slow at the wrong times. We'll give just a few. Oh, good. I can see I'm live. Let me turn off the speaker on my computer. And how's everyone doing? All right. Let me just find scrap shots here. There we go. It is a beautiful, sunny, lovely, wonderful day here in Calgary, and I forgot to turn my notifications off. Hopefully that won't be an issue. I'm just going to put my phone on airplane mode, but I forgot. All right, there we are. Okay. So guys, we are going to play a little bit with this really awesome stamp set. The Christina Werner Cheerful Flowers background stamp. And yes, it is a full 6x6 stamp. Just kind of show you it stamps really well. I did prep it with my little stamp eraser. And I think this was only 2 stamps. Hello, Kelly. You just got back from Arizona, right? I think I follow you on Instagram or Facebook or something. I can't remember. And I saw that. That looked like a nice drive. I've done that drive a few times. It's a beautiful drive from here to Arizona. Yes, it is a gorgeous stamp. It's got a coordinating die set, which I don't know why, but I didn't pick it up. And coordinating stencils. So this one's got, I believe, 6 or 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 stencils. But kind of the neat thing is, like, stencil number 1 is basically the stamp set. So if you wanted to, let's say you don't want to stamp, you could just ink up kind of your basic white cardstock, with whatever color you want on here, and then you'd have, you know, just a full panel that you could cut out. Okay, but we're going to play with the layers here. Hello, everyone who's popped in. I see a few people have popped in. So hi. Yeah, the stencils are awesome. We're going to play with, well, we're going to do a little bit of watercoloring with this set and some distress watercolor pencils. But I think before we do that, I'm just going to kind of walk you through the stencils. Let me just put this watercolor paper pad away for now. And just kind of show you, you know, we can use the stencils kind of, you know, like this to color in our, sorry, I have this backwards, to color in our images. Okay, so this I pre-stamped in black. Hi, Sandy. So we can use it kind of the, I'm going to call it the quote unquote normal way, or what I'm going to show you, and we'll do this really quick. Well, we don't have to be quick. We can take as long as we want. No, I'm going to be conscious of your time. It won't take forever. So what I want to do is, rather than use that outline stencil, okay, and kind of the neat thing about this too is I'll just layer these first 2. This is stencil 1 and stencil 2. Hang on, I've just got it backwards here. Backwards, flipped upside down. This one is right up here. There we go. So you can see we can color in all the background portion as well, which is kind of nice. So if you're starting with white cardstock, we can kind of play around with that. Hi, Carla. Just finishing grocery shopping. Are you online grocery shopping, Carla, or are you at the grocery store grocery shopping? You must be online grocery shopping. I don't know. They both work well. So this is kind of fun. I'll kind of show you this background part after. So what I'm going to do is just set these 2 pieces aside, And we're actually going to start with, I'm just going to make sure I have these all the right way, because otherwise it's going to be confusing when I go to layer them up. Okay, so we're going to actually start with stencil number 3, okay, rather than stencil number 2. This will make sense as we go along, trust me. So really what we're going to do is just ink up our florals and our leaves. So we're going to essentially, I want to show you that you can use these stencils. If you decide, you know, I'm not sure if I want to get the stamp quite yet, you can make a beautiful card just with the stencils as well. Okay, so I'm using some of this Craft Perfect tape. I think we've got this in the shop along with the dispenser. This is really nice because it's just about the right amount of stickiness. And I'm just going to tape the back of my stencil here. Those of you who have the larger Altenew sticky mat, this would work great on that because the stencil is roughly 6 by 9. Okay, so I'm going to start with, I've got some Altenew inks here, and these are from the Deco Garden Fresh Dye ink set. So it's a really beautiful set. You've got 6 different ink colors. We'll actually use them all on this card, or on this panel, so you can kind of see what they look like. So I'm just going to ink up that first flower. Okay. Just keeping my ink a little bit heavier at the center. And we're going to ink up the second floral here. And here I'm using the Altenew. This is the small ink blending tool. Okay, so it's a little bit, you may be familiar with the mini ink blending tool. That's these guys. Okay, so this is its counterpart that's just a little bit larger. Okay, so it works well if you're working in with this stencil that has some larger areas. You can kind of get your color down a little bit quicker. You could use the smaller ink blending tool, but this goes a little bit faster. Okay, so I'm just going to move that down here. So I'm just going to give the stencil a quick little wipe, because I'm not going to lift off this layer yet. I'm going to come back in now with a second color, and we're going to use the Coral Red. And this is out of that same Deco Garden cube set. Hi, Lorraine. All right. And so again, I'll start kind of at the center, going to move that color out. And of course, if you remember your color theory, when we mix red and yellow, we get orange. So we've got a nice little darker shade of orange towards the center of the florals. Okay. And then these ones on the edge, it's kind of hard to pick the base of the bloom. I could come in with like a smaller ink blending brush and just do kind of near the bottom edges there. Okay, and then we can just lift that off. And if I do this right, my tape will stay on. Perfect. So there's our first layer. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing with the next layer. And I just need to make sure. So I'm not sure if you can see here, but the stencils have the nice little etched areas of the previous layer that we inked. So all we have to do is line up these edges with what we've already inked. So I might just lift that off. It might be a little bit easier too. Okay. So because this kind of has this wider stamped line, okay, your stencil also gives you that edge. So if we line all of the areas up properly, we're going to also be able to maintain that thicker outline edge, but it's going to appear white because we're working with white cardstock. Okay. The stencil is the Cheerful Blooms. Hang on, I've got it right here. Cheerful Flowers stencils. Okay. And it's got a coordinating stamp and a coordinating die as well. I'm sorry I don't have the die, otherwise I'd show that to you. Hi, Christy. All right. How's your Thursday going, everyone? It has really felt like spring here the last few days. We did have some more snow to start the week, but that's not unusual. I mean, we still could get snow. It's actually my oldest is, his birthday is on the 23rd, and he was born kind of like a week after a great big snow dump. I think we had a huge dump of snow. I think it was March 17th, if I recall. So I always remember that snowstorm just because he was born very shortly thereafter. Because I remember I was working downtown at the time. Whoops, I shifted that. And I think it took me like over 2 hours to get home just because the buses were so delayed and all of that. But it wasn't terribly cold. Our snows in springtime here in Calgary are more wet snow. So it's not, at least it's not really cold, like on a minus, 25 type blizzard. We don't get that too often, thank goodness. All right. So I'm going to do the same things before. Just give my stencil a quick little wipe down and then come in with that second color. So this would be a great, really a really good stencil to use if you want to mass produce, because you could just kind of keep swapping each layer, with your next piece of cardstock and ink that up and move on to the next layer. Okay, sorry, I keep moving that a little bit out of frame. And also because this is like I said, it's a 6x9, you could cut this in half, which maybe we will do, and get 2 cards out of this one panel. And the nice thing is, while it's kind of a larger stencil to ink, you're not trying to, it's kind of well designed where you're inking large areas, but it's not like a ton of inking. Like sometimes there's been, I don't know if any of you guys have any of those like full sheet, like 8x10 size stencils, which are great. And some that will kind of ink. You can ink quadrants of your cardstock and then cut them all out. And they're beautiful, but it is a lot of work as far as inking. Okay, so there are the florals. And now we'll bring in our leaves. Okay. I just have to make sure I line up the right flower. Okay, right there. So I'm not sure if you can tell. I'm kind of holding this at an angle to see if you can see, but you can kind of see how this all lines up. Okay. And now we can go in and ink our leaves. So I'm going to use mid yellow again. And go right over all the leaves or the foliage. And so what we're doing is we're just using the stencil on its stencils all on their own. And then I'm going to show you something else kind of interesting Okay. So we're getting all those leaves in yellow. And that's a light one. Okay. So I'm just going to wipe that off. Now I'm going to come in with Olaf. And we're gonna apply a little more ink than that. There we go. Sometimes I'm a little too light-handed on this. Okay, but it is like a mossy yellow, so there we go. So that's pretty. I'm not going to take it all the way up to the end of the leaves. Just going to concentrate it more towards one edge, and I kind of missed that one over there. All right. So I should remind everybody too. So we have started a Scrap Shots YouTube channel. So if you're on Facebook a lot, you're probably aware that their Facebook is no longer going to host live videos for longer than 30 days. So we will be uploading these Thursday lives to our Scrap Shots YouTube channel. So make sure you go to YouTube, just type in Scrap Shots. A few videos should pop up, but our channel itself should pop up, and just hit subscribe. Then you can, and if you hit notifications, then every time a new video is uploaded there, you'll get a notification. So the lives will be going there, and then we'll be kind of working on getting previous lives uploaded. I know our Back to Basics series was a really great series, so that might be something that we for sure will have those ones up there, but those are always kind of fun to revisit. Okay, so now I'm going to use navy. Same thing. Oh, thanks, Sandy. Same out of the Deco Garden set, and I'm just going to grab my mini ink blending tool. Okay. I did kind of do this with the small one, but I'm going to use the mini one because with the navy, I probably should give that a wipe off too, because I won't notice it now, but the next time if I don't do that, I'm sure the next time I take my navy ink, I'll be wondering why it has a little tinge of green. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why either. I guess, I guess they have their reasons, but yeah, YouTube is great for being able to find them. And what I really like is that you can set up playlists. So I have lots of playlists set up. So even on, specific videos, like let's say, for example, our Back to Basics series, you could set up your playlist and then save all those videos to, a basic techniques playlist or something that you set up, and then you've got everything all in one spot. Okay, so I'm just going to add a little bit of navy here. I know it looks like I got a lot here, but that's because a lot's on the stencil. And just a little bit of shading. And so the nice thing too with this stencil set, like these openings are all, they're not super, super tiny. So if you've even got smaller ink blending tools, I've got some smaller ones, like the detail ones, if you want to really come in with just a teensy weensy bit of shading and kind of run it along one edge of your blooms or your leaves, you could do that. Super easy for that. I think this one might actually be kind of fun too, to do a little Copic coloring with as well. We'll add a little bit there. Okay. So there's our leaves. Beautiful, hey? Okay. So last but not least, we're going to grab our little flower center stencil. That's the last stencil in the set. So I'm just going to tilt that to line up my centers. And what I'm wanting to do is kind of try to maintain that equidistant outline there. It'll make more sense once we get to the last step here. Okay, so I'm just going to go in with whatever navy is left here on my brush. Okay. Oftentimes this is kind of how I'll clean my brushes. I'll just, if I know I've used a dark color like this, I might just kind of sit in front of the TV and just ink blend it out onto a piece of cardstock, and then I can kind of hang on to that cardstock and use it for die cuts later. I will kind of, as I've heard someone else remark, give these the spa treatment every now and again. Kind of take them to the sink with some dish detergent, but I don't do that a lot. I do find that sometimes it's difficult to get all the color out of them, but okay. So there is our flower centers. All right. So now I'm going to come back in with the very first stencil. Okay, so these, I mean, this is beautiful as is. We could trim that out, trim that down, but we're going to come back in with the stencil number 1. Okay, and now this is going to allow us to, we're basically getting this outline look that we have here in the black, but just with white. So like if you had stamped the image in white and then gone ahead and inked it up. So I just want to make sure I kind of try to get this lined up as perfect as possible. You know, sometimes you put a stencil down and one edge has to shift one direction and the other edge has to shift a little bit in a different direction. That can happen. So we'll kind of, oh, and I see a place where I missed some navy, but I'm not going to sweat that. We can kind of capture that right now. All right. There we go. Looks like it might be a smidgy off, but I think we're pretty close. Okay. Now, that might be a little bit off, but it'll be clear. It'll be fine. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab pool ink. Okay, and what's kind of fun that the stencil lets you do then, if you kind of ink it up this way, where you ink all your inside pieces first, is now it's going to allow us to, oh, wait a second. I'm lying to you guys. Hang on. 1 second. Aha. Okay, sorry, it's this way. I'll have to go back in and do those guys, but this is the easiest way. We're going to, there we go. This is actually stencil number 2. Okay. So that first one I just had on that I was kind of making you think I was going to use is actually not the one I'm going to use. I'm using this one. And what this allows us to do is with stencil number 1, okay, you can see it'll ink all the openings, but it has all the openings including our flowers and leaves. But stencil number 2 has masks off our flowers and our leaves that we've just inked. And so that's going to allow us to ink up the background. Okay. And this will, you'll see what a great look we get here with that. All right. Okay, I'm not going to fiddle around with that too much more. Let's grab the pool. Okay. And while this is, you know, it's a large, like a 6x9 piece of paper we're working with, and I mean, you don't have to work with this size. You could cut it down and just work with a portion, but I would use it full size because then I can, like I said, get 2 panels out of this. But you can see how quickly you're able to get these open areas inked. All right. So we'll ink, 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 ink. All right, and again, if you have one of those sticky mats, it would be great with this. I do have one, but it's too small. It wouldn't work with this, so. All right. So there is our background. So it's like our blooms are kind of a little vine of them with the sky behind them. It is gorgeous, isn't it? But what I kind of like the idea of doing here, could kind of put that back on and then add some more, take our navy ink. Okay, and then we could go back in and just add a little bit of depth kind of behind some of these areas here. Or if you've got a smaller detail blending tool, you could just add a little bit of shadowing in various spots. And I just kind of move that around, move that ink off the stencil. Okay, you see that just a way you can add some more depth behind those blooms. You can see it's a little bit off here, but I actually don't mind that because it's given me like I would go back in, I think, and add some more navy here, and then it's just giving you a real kind of 3D sort of look there. Okay, then we can cut this in half and a die cut sentiment on there. We had something like, let me just grab. Hi, Irene. You know, let's say something like this. Like just a note. I'm going to cut that down, and there we've got super duper easy. Okay. Or what I did here, I'll show you one I worked on last night. After getting all of this inked, I took the stencil number 1. Okay, and then I just placed it back on here. Which way do I have this? I have this backwards. There we go. And then what I did was add a little bit of my jar of Nuvo Glimmer Paste was just about empty, so the little bits and pieces that were left, I just added that right to the centers here. So now we've got a bit of shimmer. So super, super easy. Yeah, the 2.0 stamp wheel, absolutely, Irene. That would be perfect for this. Yeah. So super duper easy way to use these stencils if you wanted just a different look from the stamp. But I thought, since I had the stamp out, so I stamped some images in black, but I thought, why not stamp some images on watercolor paper and drag out my watercolor pencils that I don't use as often as I should. I'll just move these inks out of the way here. And let's just do a quick little color one of these panels quickly. So I cut the panel to 6x6. I'm actually using this 9x12 watercolor paper pad from Altenew. So it's a really lovely paper. So I've just stamped it in clear embossing ink and then white embossing powder. So I think you can, it's hard to see, but. And so I thought, well, let's just do a quick little simple watercolor with the Distress watercolor pencils. Sorry, I'm just moving some things out of the way and trying to make sure that I don't forget where I put them in case I need them again. Okay, so I've got a couple sets of watercolor pencils here. So this is set 3 on the left, set 1 on the right. And normally I have full set syndrome, but I'm kind of like, I kind of need to use these a lot more before I decide to go all in for full set syndrome. So these things are kind of fun. There's a couple of different ways we could add our watercolor here. So I'm just going to pick kind of a darker color that's we're going to be able to see on camera. Let's go with a red. Actually, we'll do a yellow and a red, kind of similar to what we used for. Oh, yeah, thanks for popping in, Irene. Enjoy running your errands. You can catch the rest on replay. Okay. Okay, honestly, you guys, like, the nails are pretty, but this is the last go around of getting them filled because they make some things very annoying, like trying to get your crayons out of your tin. Never mind texting. Ooh, good question, Selena. I have to almost say I haven't used them enough to have a favorite. I think I did like the vibrant colors in them. I'm just going to zoom in here a little bit so you can see that better. Okay, so I've got my jar of water here. I've got a couple of brushes, but I thought, and actually this is one of the really nice things because this is such a large image that you can kind of experiment on how you add your color. So with these watercolor pencils, okay, we can go in kind of with the pencil on dry paper, and I'm just gonna swirl that around like that. Okay, and then come in with water. Add a little bit more water. Okay, and then you can pull that out a bit. Kind of lighten that up all the way to the edge of your petal. Okay, and it might just be me as the user. I kind of find that always feels a bit harsh wherever I scribble. Okay, that's kind of the first way we can add the color. Second way, we can wet the paper first, the little piece we're working with. And as I do kind of a couple petals here, you'll be able to see the embossing, the embossed lines more. Okay, and my crayon is still dry, but I'm going to come in and you can see how it's a bit softer to start with, but I'm just dabbing that and you can see the water starts to pull the pigment as it flows into the pigment. So now I can add a little more water and I'm just dabbing. I'm not really trying to move that a whole lot. Okay, but it's light. Okay, now what we could do as well is you can take that crayon and just dip it into your water. Okay, and then we can pick up some of that already moistened pigment. And now I'm going on this leaf that's dry. Okay, look at how vibrant that is. That's a lot of pigment though I put on there, in all fairness. Okay, And I'll just dab off some of that pigment. Okay. Okay, and that was putting, you know, basically the wet pigment onto the dry petal, but we're going to do the same thing on this one. I'm going to wet that first. Okay, and then I'm going to go back to my pencil, take it right off the pencil, and I'm just tapping that. Okay, and I'm just taking off the pigment that's on my brush, and then that way I can kind of feather out that color. So it's kind of all personal preference. You can kind of experiment. See, this is just about dry. This is a little damp still. But I'm going to go back in here and just kind of smooth that out a little. So if you kind of play with your pencils and how you add the color, and like I said, this is an excellent stamp set to play with this because you've got these large areas and you can do them right next to each other and get a really good feel for your preferred method of application. I think if I want it more vibrant here, I actually kind of like it like this, where we've picked up the pigment, we've dampened the crayon, picked up the pigment, and then just added that to the dry paper. Then we just add water. Okay, so if you like a nice kind of a deeper shadow at the base. Okay, and what you can do if you want to intensify the color as well, you can hit this with your heat tool. Okay, and then come back in and add another layer. All right. So I'm going to pull that up. Okay, we won't paint the whole thing just because I don't want to keep you guys here that long. I'm not necessarily fast, but I just want you to be able to see how easy it is. Okay, so I'm going to hit that with my heat tool real quick because I kind of want to do something similar to our inked version and add some orange. Now normally I would use my Ranger heat tool. I've got my embossing gun out, so I'm just using that quick. But I'm going to be really careful that I don't remelt the embossing powder. Okay. If you have a Ranger heat tool, so that's the white, actually I think they make them in black. Let me just show you. I guess I should have just taken it out. If you've got this heated tool, it works really well for drawing any mixed media projects like this because it's got a larger opening. So it diffuses the heat, covers more surface area. You know, if you heat it long enough, you could end up remelting your embossing powder or burning it, but you're probably not going to do it that long. It would be dry well before that would happen, your paper. Okay, so we're going to come in now and layer on. You can see how I'm going to pull a little water up here. Okay, so I'm going to do a little experiment here. So this one I dried up, so I'm just taking, what I'm doing is dabbing off my water because I don't want it to be all the way orange to the edge. Okay, but let's say I add a little bit of moisture there first, and then my yellow. With this, because we're blending colors, you probably wouldn't have to dry it. You could just start with the yellow and then blend it through. So I'm not going to take it all the way to the edge, but can you see that pretty, really lovely shade of orange here? Okay. So I'm just going to do one more, and then we're going to do the center of the flower, because then you'll be able to kind of see the shape a little bit better. Okay, so you can play around. I could come in and add a little bit more red to this one if I wanted to, kind of right there. And now I'm kind of drawing that down. Okay, so super, super simple. Okay. So you can see how much of a different look. We'll compare that stenciled one, and then even though I've only just stamped the outline, you can still get a good look at kind of the different type of look you're going to get. Let's use, I might want this to be a little bit darker, but I do have black soot, so I can mix the two together. So what actually I'm going to do is just put a little bit of water on here. And because this is embossed, I don't have to worry about, you know, the water, you know, about my embossed areas not staying white. So I can kind of go ham and just dab the color. Okay, and then the color's going to sit right inside that stamped area. Unless, just be careful you don't, now, I should make note that if you're going to kind of drag your color off directly off your pencil, make sure you kind of do it away from that, because if you end up flicking by accident, like a little bit, like this stuff flicks really great if you want to flick. If you want to add some watercolor flicks, you can just wet your brush and just kind of slide it right over top of that. It's awesome for that. But if you forget about that, like I just did before, and don't just kind of tap it and pick up your color, you could end up with flicks where you don't want them. Okay. So there's my, just gonna tap that off. What I would do is just wait for this to dry completely, and then I can tap off, and then I can just wipe off any color that's sitting on top of the embossing powder. Okay, so after the live, I'm going to go through and finish watercoloring this entire panel. It's just going to take a lot of time. Cynthia. Well, I could, but it might be like an hour and a half or two. Oh, you're going to have to reorder everything. Hi, Melanie. I know. Oh, thanks, Carla. You're so smart. Okay, yeah, I just saw it in there yesterday, Sandy, so, but yeah, awesome. So guys, Sandy's going to reorder that stencil. So if you want one, if you even just put in the comments, one for me, please, then she can, that will help her make sure she gets enough in the store, so that you guys watching the live will get one, and anyone watching on replay will get one. Okay, so let's just kind of take a quick look. Let me just bring back in the stenciled one, which I'm actually going to add a little bit more ink to later. And so we can kind of take a look here and see. So that's just the stencil only version. Okay, here's the watercolor one we're going to finish after the live. And then I'm going to add some color, but probably with my Copic markers on this one after. But just how you can see, you can get, you know, like a real bold, almost geometric with those dark lines, or make like a stained glass look, something really, really soft, and something just pretty, all with, you know, that one stamp set and stencil. So super easy. Yeah, and I don't know if you guys have seen, but I have seen this. You could use your stencils with watercolor as well. Why don't I show you guys that really quick? You're like, what? Okay, this wasn't my idea. I saw somebody else do it. Let me just find the right stencil here. But you might have to sacrifice a stencil brush. Let's see, we'll do this guy on this edge. So you don't get the same type of watercolor look per se. It's almost more of a inked look. What's this one? I've got some ink on here, but that's okay. We're gonna work with that. So I'm just gonna line up that little top part. So let me just grab another kind of clean-ish stencil brush, and I'll just kind of show you this real quick, because I saw this online, and if it's something, you know, if you decide, or if you've got a large open stencil like this one in your stash, you can definitely give this a try. Okay, so I'm going to just add some water to this palette I have here. Actually, we're going to scribble some of this on here. I'm just scribbling my pencil on here. And I'm going to add some water. Okay, and I'm just going to, I have another brush. Oh, that's fine, I think it's right here. Just going to mix that water around a little bit. And I might add a little bit more color just so you can see this a little better on the, there we go. Okay, I'm going to set that aside. So now I've just got, it looks lilac-ish, but it's actually clean. But I'm just going to dab that into my, swirl that around there. And now you can take that onto your stencil. There you go. And now see, I picked up a little orange there, but you can see that you can use that through your stencil, and it would actually work really well with this stencil, or with this embossed image, because these lines are so thick. So we're not getting that ink isn't pushing underneath the stencil. Okay, but I'm not using a whole ton of water, but really great way to kind of extend your watercolors as well. So play around with that if you haven't seen that before and you haven't used it yet. Oh, perfect. All right. So that is a look there at the, I keep wanting to call this Cheerful Blooms, but it's Cheerful Flowers. Cheerful Flowers stencil set. But before I say goodbye and then play around in my craft room to kind of get these pulled into cards and put together, I just want to share with you, we just did some retailer classes in the past week. So as we're getting ready for the carnival here in Calgary in April, I think it's 11th, 12th, 13th, can't remember. You know, we're kind of trying to figure out what product to bring in, starting to work on make and takes. So if you guys have any suggestions or something you want to see, or something you'd love to see as demo at Carnival, by all means, throw them out there or post on the Facebook page or in the, yeah, we'd love to kind of help you out with that. Get some stuff in you guys would like to see, and yeah. So I made a couple of cards here. This is with the Altenew Serene Garden 3D embossing folder and the coordinating simple coloring stencil. Okay, so Altenew does such beautiful embossing folders, and then these ones are fun when they have a coloring stencil to go with them, but kind of similar to the stencil we just took a look at. You know, you can use that stencil on its own as well. Okay, but it really shines when you use it to color in the embossing. So this first card we made, it's been embossed with that folder, and then we've colored in all the little beautiful images. Okay, so super fun, super easy, super pretty. Just embellish it with the iridescent sparklers, I think they're called. And then this card is just cardstock that's inked. It's then embossed with that same folder. And you can see if I tip it here, it actually uses Altenew's new shimmer relief paste. So this is in the pearl. So it has a lot of pretty shine. I know, like, who needs one more paste in their collection, but honestly, it is different. It's It's really airy and light, and it cleans up very easily. Some pastes are a bit difficult to clean up, but this one cleans up super, super well. So yeah, we'll be playing around with that and come up with some more samples so you can see what it looks like. Yeah, so yeah, there we go. That is it for today's live. Yeah, like I said, I'll finish these up, turn them into cards, post them in the group, and then yeah, you guys can see, take a look at what they look like. And great. And so just a reminder, Carla's live from last week is going to be up March 11th. It's got some beautiful new product, and that one will be up for all to see then. And Carla will be back next week with a demo of something fantastic, I'm sure. Yeah, it is pretty paste, Celine. Yeah. I mean, if you don't have paste yet and you want to try some, I think this would be a really lovely one to try as well. Okay, everyone. Well, you guys have a fantastic Thursday and a fabulous weekend. It feels like the weekend already, but not quite yet. One more day. But thanks for hanging out with me, everyone. Have a fantastic day, and don't forget to subscribe to the Scrap Shots YouTube channel, okay? And because just in case, who knows if Facebook will, you know, even allow lives to keep going forward. You never know. I would think they would, but who knows. All right, everybody, take care and have a fantastic day. Bye.